We're going to answer the question, how to make crab cakes. Now, there's plenty of ways to make crab cakes, and there's all kinds of recipes, and some have mayonnaise in them. As a matter of fact, a lot of them have mayonnaise in them. And some are deep fried, some are sauteed, some are baked. But the recipe I'm going to show you today doesn't have mayonnaise in it, and it's what I consider to be the nicest crab cake recipe that I have or that I've seen. Now, one would measure the quality of the crab cake, if you will, in one way by how firm it is. Like if it's a hockey puck, obviously the texture of the crab cake would not be that desirable. So if you don't have a bit of a problem handling the crab cake, what I mean by that is it should almost fall apart, but not fall apart, of course, while you're both making them, sauteing them, transferring them to the plate to eat, and so on and so forth. So this recipe, I call for 1 pound of special crab meat. That would be the grade of crab meat. Now, you can use lump, jumbo lump, special, or back fin. Now, today we have back fin because that's what they had at the market this morning when we went. And what I got was 2 8-ounce containers. And you remember one thing about the crab cake recipe itself and the process for making it, and that is that first you make the crab mix and then you allow it to rest. You let the crab and the breadcrumbs, small amount of breadcrumb that we'll have in there, allow that to absorb the cream and egg mixture and the vegetables, so that when you make and form the hashes, don't forget crab cake is a hash or a form of a hash, it holds together and adheres a little bit like good packing snowballs. If you're from up north, you'd understand that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pound of crab and put it in the bowl. Now this particular crab has been picked free of all of its shells too. And if you happen to have a pound of pasteurized both in a can, or this is pure fresh. This has not even been in a can. Just double check to make sure that you have a brand name, if you will, that picks the crab meat clean of shells, because you don't want to be biting down on shells when you're eating your crab cake. So we're going to take the minced celery and the minced red pepper, and we're going to put a little bit of chopped scallion in there. See, I have videos for you of the minced red pepper and the minced celery, but not of the scallion, so that's kind of why I'm chopping it. Okay, let's take a little bit of scallion. Now, theoretically, you could take this mixture and make a giant crab cake out of it if you wanted to make a really big one. I've never seen anyone do it, but you could do it. My point is this, is that you can make any size you want, really. You can make a 2-ounce crab cake that you can use as an hors d'oeuvre size, or a 4-ounce, or a 6-ounce. 4 ounce is a good size because you can offer that as 2 4-ounces as a main dish, or 1 4-ounce crab cake and maybe 1 4 or 5-ounce little steak or something with it too as a combination. Now, one thing I want to emphasize to you, and it's also in the written recipe, and that is that you don't want to over mix the crab mix when you're making it at this stage right here, because you don't want to break the crab up into pieces any smaller than it needs to be. Otherwise you could end up with a crab spread, if you will, and someone might actually say this is hash. You know, you don't want that. All right, so I'm going to separate the 3 eggs that go into this recipe, because the recipe calls for 3 egg yolks and 1/3 of a cup of cream per pound of crab. Okay, there's our 3 egg yolks. And I've got 1/3 of a cup of cream here. And we're going to put a little bit of salt. And you want to put when you season this mixture, you want to put your seasoning, your salt and pepper, in the egg and cream mixture. That way it gets evenly divided, and you don't have to add another ingredient and mix again. The more mixing, the more you break up the crab cake, the crab meat. I'm going to put a little bit of cayenne pepper in here. Now, of course, there are all kinds of versions of this that are made spicy in that too, and you can certainly add whatever flavor, hot, spicy flavor, whatever it is you want to it. I kind of like it plain like this myself. All right, now we'll put the egg mixture on there. And I'm going to put a little bit of breadcrumb in here. You want to be careful you don't put too much breadcrumb. Just put a little bit in there. Now we're going to mix her up. Could you put other stuff in here? Could you put fresh herbs in here? Of course you could. You don't want to overcomplicate it either. You want your crab cake to be such so that when you're eating it, all you see and taste really is the crab. You put too much other stuff in there, it starts diluting the crabbiness of the cake, which seems to be one of the biggest complaints people have is I had a crab cake, but didn't seem to be that much crab in it. So you just want to be cognizant of that and sensitive to that. Okay, so now you want to taste your mixture. Make sure you got enough salt in it. Which I do. Now, I'm going to plastic wrap this, and I'm going to stick it in the fridge for about 2 hours. We're going to come back on time-lapse video here in about 2 hours, and then I'm going to show you how to patty them up and bread them and store them before you saute them. So I'll be back right now, actually. We're back with the crab mix. It's been sitting for about 2.5 to 3 hours. And it's in the same bowl with the same plastic wrap on it I had before. What I did was I got a little scale here because I'm going to show you what a 4-ounce crab cake looks like and what a 2-ounce crab cake looks like. So first we're going to go in here and feel the mixture. It's nice and wet. That's great. Now we're going to take some breadcrumbs and we're going to dump them on a big flat surface like this. You see? Now, this is going to look extremely easy because it is. But for some reason, people tend to make this part more difficult than it really is. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover up the scale with the plastic wrap here that we had. Keep that clean. If you don't have a scale, don't worry about it. But, you know, I want you to see what a 4-ounce crab cake looks like. So first we'll take and measure out what 4 ounces looks like on a scale. All right, there we go. Just make it into a little bit of a ball. We don't want to squeeze any of the cream out of it. Set it down there, okay? Take a little bit of breadcrumb, throw it on top. Shake it loose. Put it on the table like you're going to make a burger. Tighten it up just a little bit. Boom. Now, one thing you'll notice about this crab cake, it's not tapered like a flying saucer. If you do that, the ends will cook faster than the others. And it's slightly tall. You don't want it too flat because you can dry it out. You want it nice and moist and creamy inside when you're done. Now I'm going to put it back on here, throw a little bit of breadcrumb on it, and set it over here. Now we're going to let these set, of course, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours before we saute them. We're going to do another time-elapse take on this particular preparation for you. Okay, I'll do another 4-ounce one here. Right on the money. On the table. You'll notice I'm not handling this very much. You see, this is very important that you understand this part. If you overhandle the crab cake, you'll destroy the thing. It'll be falling apart on you all over the place. You see how fast that was? Okay, now I'm going to do, let's do a couple of 2-ounce ones. I'm making sure that I'm grabbing the crab mix from the bottom because I don't want any cream and egg yolk mixture left at the bottom of this mixture when I'm done, see? So make sure you get some nice little bit of wet on all of this. Another 2 ounces. Let's hit those with a little bit of breadcrumb. Same routine again. Gently. You want the top to be a little bit flat. And back on the breadcrumbs, boom. Same thing again. Minimal handling. A bit extra breadcrumb, boom. Now I'm going to make 2 more 4 ounces, which is what I think I should have in here. That's 4 ounces there. And we'll make 1 5-ounce. We got exactly an extra ounce. When we're all done, we're going to add up all the ounces and see what we started with, and then you see what we end up with. And that will be the typical formula for the mix. Normally, if you start out with a pound, you should end up with 24 ounces, which is you add 8 ounces of stuff, if you will, food to the mixture. A big part of that's the egg and cream mix. So on the table, this is the 5-ounce one here. This will probably be the one that I'll end up grabbing for lunch if Richard doesn't get it first. Okay, that's the 5. And here's another 4-ounce one here. On the table again. Minimal handling. Boom. Now one thing you want to keep in mind after these are allowed to set in the fridge for a while is the bottom of these will actually end up being the top of the crab cake because it's going to be the flattest from sitting on the plate, and we're going to saute that face down first, and that'll end up being the top of the crab cake because it'll be the flattest and the evenest, and therefore it will brown the most even and it'll look the best. But you, of course, take whatever side turns out the best and make sure that's the side that's face up, regardless of what I say. All right, I'm going to put these back in the fridge for about 2 hours, and we're going to come back and we're going to show you how to saute them. And there's definitely some tricks to sauteing these crab cakes and having them come out perfect. So we'll be back in 2 hours or right now.